Jolie was born a perfectly healthy baby girl. She developed perfectly normal until she was 6 months old, and when she started having seizures. She was diagnosed with a seizure disorder called infantile spasms, where the seizures that she would have 6 to 8 seizures a day that would come in clusters, and those seizures were very dangerous for her brain. They can cause brain damage and even be fatal to her. It was a very humbling and very scary time.
And it was a shock to the system. It was, is this really happening? You know, we kept thinking it would go away and get better. And, you know, we relied a lot on God, on friends and family. And it got to the point where she was in so much pain and so much where when the doctor said, this is not working, we have to do something else.
They had already told us the other option was we could try some more medicine, but it wasn't likely that they were gonna do much good, and that if we didn't treat her with surgery, that we would slowly watch her deteriorate into a nonverbal, non-communicating child, or she would have a seizure so bad that it would kill her. I remember pretty specifically him laying out all the details of what surgery would be. They would go in and place these sensors on her brain.
They'd remove her skull.
They remove the skull.
And put these electrodes on her brain and map it for the whole week.
They would know exactly where the seizure was coming from, and they would be able to do what they call a brain resection. So they're just removing a small portion of the brain. And that's the whole time what we expected, was that they would just remove a small portion of her brain.
We anticipated about the size of a plum that they were going to remove.
Yeah, nothing went as planned.
And so instead of removing a plum,
hospital.
the night before the surgery, instead of removing the size of a plum, we're talking about removing at a minimum 1 lobe, maybe 2 lobes. And that was, I felt like that was a gut check. I mean, that was...
I think the hardest part about learning that was we were hoping that Jolie would be able to maintain a lot of her physical milestones that she had made, and part of the portion of her brain that they had to remove is called the motor strip, and so that essentially paralyzed the entire, it was on her right side, so that paralyzed the entire left side of her body. So when she became conscious from her surgery, it was almost as if she had had a stroke. Her cheek muscles didn't work. When she would move her mouth, only the right side would move. She couldn't move. She couldn't walk. She was able to walk before. She couldn't walk. She couldn't move any part of the left side of her body. So everything changed at that point. It was starting over again, and she wasn't really cognitively there when she came to from her surgery, and it was probably at least a week or two before we started seeing signs of Jolie coming back. I heard about Nightlights for the first time through Jolie's preschool. She came home with a flyer in her backpack, and I started reading it, and I think my first thought was, this is too good to be true. There has to be a catch. They're just gonna keep my kids for free, and we can go out, and I was actually a little bit leery, so I picked up the phone and called Kristen right away, and I had lots of questions to ask, and I felt really comfortable with her on the phone. That was another...
I was a little apprehensive.
Apprehension.
Just because no one wants to be a charity case, and I didn't want to feel like we were that, but after the first or second time, we changed our minds pretty quickly.
Pretty quick.
Kids look forward to it. We look forward to it.
Yeah. When we tell them it's Nightlights this week, they just jump for joy. They think it's just the best thing ever. They get in their jammies and we
always feel so comfortable with everybody there. I mean, everyone is so willing to help, and everyone's there because they want to be there, and that's a nice feeling just to be in the church that way.
Well, I think one of the really great things about Nightlights is it made me feel like somebody else could see the value of my marriage, and that is the core to our family, that our relationship is important, and without a strong marriage, then our family will cease to function properly. So that has been really great, that we've had the time to go out with each other and just really spend quality time together. And as everyone knows, when you have little children, finding a babysitter is hard enough. But when you have a special needs child, it adds a whole nother aspect to the realm of finding and trusting someone to watch your child. We oftentimes would have young girls from our church come and watch them, but when Jolie's got sick, we just didn't feel like we could burden them with such a hard task if something were to happen. So this has been so wonderful to have Mary Ray there, the nurse, who is always there, and we feel really comfortable with her and her knowledge of what to do if there's an emergency. And the volunteers have been great. Jolie has a really special relationship with a volunteer who she sees a lot, Allison, and they run to each other and hug every time we go there. And it just makes me feel so wonderful as a mother that another mother really cares for my child as much as I do.